after 11 o'clock. And Miss Phiwe is here in the studio with me. Now, she is an award-winning journalist with extensive experience in the media, and having worked for a leading media house such as the British Broadcasting Corporation in London, Miss Phiwe is experienced in front of the camera and behind the microphone as well. Her in-skills as a seasoned journalist, coupled with her sound grasp in cultural diplomacy, expert in the creative cultural industry and trade sector, with in-depth knowledge in enhancing intra-African trade through the creative industries under the African Continental Free Trade Area, as well as other development focus areas such as climate change, tech, women in agribusiness, and development finance, has shaped her into a seasoned thought leader, speaker, conference chair, panel discussion moderator, and program director at various global platforms. In her current role as a diplomat for the African Union focusing on policy strategy, Ms. Phiwe has a wealth of experience in driving policy measures and collaborative initiatives to harness the transformative power of creative industries and sports for the benefit of the continent. Now, this morning, she joins me on the zone. Now,
thank you so much for that lovely intro.
yes,
Wow.
yes. First of all, let's start the journey.
Yes.
How did you end up here?
So let me begin where I started, in journalism, actually.
Right.
My first degree was in journalism. I really wanted to be the voice of the voiceless. I wanted to inform. I wanted to educate. I came from a small town. I'm in rural KZN, and I was a woman, and I felt like we didn't have a voice. And I was like, you know what? I want to be in a space where women like me, have a seat at the table. And I felt like journalism was one of those places that I could have that power. So I started off joining City Press, which is quite a big newspaper in South Africa. And I was lucky to be mentored by, big legendary journalists like Panim Tomboti, Sumelo Zibi, Nigo Pikicha. From there, I went to BBC Africa, where I was under the mentorship of Peter Okotre. And I mention these names because no man's an island. I would not be here if these great mentors were not there to help me. And that's why it's so important to pay it forward. So that's where it all began. But I'll say my trajectory of moving to diplomacy is when I interviewed the legendary Kofi Annan, when he was still Secretary General of the UN. And as we all know, he was the first black, Secretary General. And when I that interview changed my life. It was 10 minutes, not even long, but what a visionary, what an inspiration. And I remember him asking me, why do I want to do what I want to be? And I said, I would like to do what you do. And he said to me, what do you think I do? And I said, I think you have the most noble profession in the world. Your job is to literally maintain peace and security in the world. And I'm like, I can't imagine anything more noble. And he looked at me and he said, you're going places. And I was just with his son the other day, and I told him, and I was like, your dad is the one that actually inspired me. And from there onwards, I pursued a master's in international relations at SOAS, at the School of Oriental African Studies at University of London. And that's pretty much where it all started. But I think ultimately, what I got from that interview was purpose and altruism. He was like, be the change you want to see.
Right.
And he was like, you know what, if do something in your own corner, you know what I mean? You don't have to change the world. What are you doing in your own community, in your own, what impact are you having?
Right.
And that was what I got from that interview. That's why I pursued a career in diplomacy.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And the way you talk about it, it sounds like it's been a smooth sailing all the way. But I can imagine that you have had some hurdles along the way, obviously. Can we talk about those?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'll say that, when I tell people I'm a diplomat, it's always like, what do you mean? Because, diplomats look like Kofi Annan, they don't look like, they're not young and female. And so I've had to deal with a lot of me having to, be in rooms where I people think I don't belong in, and having to prove myself. But I felt that it's you can have. I realized in this industry, I've got a master's degree. I've got
Right.
14 years experience in the industry, but I realized that it's really about building relationships and building trust, and that takes time. And I think because what diplomacy represented, before was always older,
Right.
but now I understand that representation matters, and now
Right.
when young girls see me, posting and speaking, and they're like, wow. She looks like me,
Yeah.
You cannot be something you don't see, so I now feel that even all the challenges that I face, I feel like I have a social responsibility to be a representation for the young girl from the rural area, to say, look, I'm nothing special. I did it.
Right.
You can too. And these
Right.
spaces do exist.
Right.
And and that's why I'm still fighting the good fight, as hard as it can be, but it's worth it. And I'm sure you also, being in a patriarchal space, you definitely also deal with a lot of challenges, but you're still here,
Yes.
thriving.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But tell me, why do you think, this type of diplomacy is important in today's age?
You mean public diplomacy and soft power?
Exactly.
Right. So so when I did my masters, they spoke a lot about hard power. It's about leverage and nuclear weapons and who's
Yeah.
more powerful. That's the old type of diplomacy.
Right.
But as young people, we've realized that the soft power, which is also public diplomacy, which is now using the creative culture industry. It's about collaboration. It's about finding culture synergies. It's about what Ghana is doing in the diaspora, right? So if we're looking at sectors like music, film, fashion, radio, TV, social media, publishing, writing, so these areas are so powerful because, number one, 70% of the population in Africa is employed by the creative culture industry, which is young
Right.
people and women, informal and formal. So already you're reaching 70% of the population. And secondly, it's so powerful because who are young people listening to? The Sakodes, the Jackies, the Maporisas, the Black Sheriffs, you know what I mean? The Tiwa Savages, the Wizkids. That is how you reach young people.
Right.
That is how, as the AU, we need to be harnessing, those platforms and giving them resources to say, look, this is how we reach young people, and this is how this is where the jobs are, this is where they want to work.
Right.
So this create more opportunities for them in that space. So being a thought leader in the creative culture industry and soft power is because it's never been seen as an important portfolio in diplomacy.
Right.
It's always been trade and agribusiness and climate change, which are all very important. But soft power is the new frontier. We're going to be in 2030. We're going to be by 2030, 42% of the population will be African. So half of the world in 2030 will be African, and 72% of them will be under the age of 35. Do you see how powerful that is?
Very.
So basically, the idea is we're going to be the biggest population in the world in terms of youth. So if we're giving our youth the tools and the opportunities, by the time they're leaders, can you imagine where this continent will be?
Yes.
So that's why I feel like this space is so powerful, and it needs more awareness, it needs more resources, it needs more interviews, we need
Right.
more visibility, because really this is where the future is.
It is indeed where the future is. So I reckon you are always connecting with a lot of young people, a lot of people in the creative space, if you may.
Yes.
Would you say that is, outside of it being a job you have to do you enjoy doing that?
I'm so glad you asked me that. Absolutely. I mean, I'm an art collector.
Okay.
I love music. Remember earlier you asking me, oh, you're so in tune with what's
Yes.
happening. You know what I mean? I love Black Sheriff is one of my favorite. I was at Afro Nation, Portugal, and I saw him on stage, and he was performing All in My Head. I'm like, who is this young man? He was performing by himself, the way he occupied the stage. I'm just like, I love the creative space. I love the way they think. I think they are so in tune with just the intuition,
Right.
and I think it's important for policymakers and investors and creatives to come to. There needs to be a space where they they come together.
Right.
Because what's happening is creatives are creating alone, and policymakers and decision makers are deciding alone.
Right.
Right. So my job, which I love doing, is to bring those two entities together to say, look, there's so much, everybody wins here. You know, the creatives get the funding and support,
Right.
and you guys we as the AU get to reach the young people that we want to reach. And I'm a huge supporter of, and most of my friends are creatives. I think they are so much fun, and the conversations we would have,
Yes.
open-minded, well-traveled, just really incredible people.
Indeed, indeed. And also in your conversations with some of these creatives that you interact with, where do you find that their minds are at? Are they willing to get on board this new change that we seek, or are they in a place that, is it difficult to reach them to get on board? Where are their minds at?
Oh my gosh, they are so excited about it. For
Okay.
example, the Mapiano movement that happened in Ghana, we were part of the Mapiano people when we had the twins that came, Major League, they had a residency here. We had a huge wave of Mapiano that came in, and we were part of that. And so they've been, South Africans and I think Nigerians and Ghanaians, we've been wanting to collaborate.
Right.
But there hasn't been a middleman to help do that. So they finally said, look, we've been working in silos, and it's been so difficult. So
Right.
it was such a powerful movement. And now the next thing that we want to do actually is we want to bring Afro House and Afro Tech
Right.
into West Africa.
Right.
So when I talk about Afro House, I'm talking about Black Coffee, Ola the Song, all these artists that perform, in Europe, in Ibiza. Because remember, piano is the baby of house.
Yeah.
First at Kwaito, then house music, Afrotech, your Black Coffees, and then you got a piano. But Afro House, Afrotech really is the bedrock of South Africa. So, and what's nice about it is, the little vocals in it. I mean, I could see Jackie on a Black Coffee song.
Right.
So now we are working on bringing, that movement and that collaboration into West Africa, because South Africans are really passionate about West Africa. Like, they love. There's so many inspirations that we draw from each other, you
Right.
know. And so that's the next frontier. Actually, actually, this is an exclusive. Nobody knows. This is
Right.
exclusively announced that that's the next direction we're going, is taking Afro House, Afrotech, and bringing it to West Africa, and bringing the collaboration. Hopefully, having people like Sokode, King Promise,
Yeah.
Jackie, also just coming on board and giving it their credibility, and really just kind of jumping in and also making it just taking it to the next level and saying
Right.
to the West African community, this is where we're going, because we can't do it alone.
No.
So and I'm hoping that shows like this as well
Yeah.
can also help, because media is very powerful, and
It
we
is.
hope that you guys can also help carry that message that we're stronger united than divided, and
Yeah.
And music is is a unifying
Yeah.
factor everywhere, as you've
Right.
seen. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now let's talk about, you are very educated. I mean, I've gone through your profile. I've seen all the schools that you've attended. Clearly, deliberately, to get you where you are right now. Today's young girl may be of a different opinion because of social media.
Yeah.
People feel as though, well, if I'm getting the attention and maybe the money that I need now, then there's no point, because in the end, I'm doing all of these education just so I can, make money and be
Right.
comfortable. So if that's happening for me now, then there's no point. What would you say to a young girl today who may not necessarily give that level of value to education? What would you say to them?
You know what? I actually respect a lot of people that I've met who come from the school of life. I really
Right.
do. I think for you to make it without a qualification is incredible. For you to be successful, I give so much respect to that. However, I do believe that there is a space for people that are interested in education, because then you can be in a space where you can make decisions.
Right.
And for those that do want to, go into policy making, diplomacy, law, media, there's, the scholarships out there. What I did was, I went through the Chevening Scholarship, which, you can Google. There's also Fulbright, there's Canon Collins, there's Commonwealth. There's so many scholarships out there that are looking for young, bright leaders who want to go abroad, fully funded. You know, the money is there, the resources are there, but they really want to see that you are, you know, as I said, going back to what are you doing in your corner? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, show that you actually are, you know, you have been driving impact, you know, in some
Right.
sort of way, in your small way. But I think both, just to answer your question, both entities are important.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, those that are social media and all these informal jobs are very important, very powerful. And I think they have
True.
a place. But I also think that for those that do want to go the more bureaucratic way, that's also very important as well, because we need each other.
Right.
And there's so many information out there, so many tools that you can use to get to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Also, do you see a lot of young African women maybe following in your footsteps when it comes to diplomacy, when it comes to what you do? Do you see that, you know, that's something that is attractive for young women in Africa?
You know what? Not enough, and I'll tell you why. It's because, you know, you cannot be something you don't see, right? And you know, there's not many diplomats that look like me,
Right.
and so I was lucky and fortunate because I was mentored by people that, you know, told me that this exists. So
Right.
I don't see them enough, but not because I don't think there's a lack of interest. It's just because they don't know that these jobs exist for
Right.
people like
Right.
that look like me, that, you
Okay.
know, my age. And I think these kind of interviews are paramount to say, look, yes, they do exist. And I also have started an NGO called African Diplomat Group,
Okay.
which basically is a platform where the creatives and young people can, you know, meet or kind of connect with investors and people that can create opportunities for them, to say, look, there's so many different avenues that you can go into the space.
Right.
And it also gives you tools as well as to how do you apply for these scholarships, how do you apply for
Right.
the fellowships, you know, where are the internships, which you know, which websites can you go to, and you know, it's, you know, you can't, the space tends to be quite, I wouldn't say it's quite hard to find. If you don't know what you're looking for, it's hard to find.
Right.
Right. So that's why, you know, when I created this NGO, it really is to help, really to synthesize the information, say it does exist, there are spaces there. In fact, we are looking for young women because the AUs and the UNs are realizing, look, you know, we're not tapped in. We need younger people who are on the ground.
Right.
So there's to answer your question, there isn't enough, not because there's no interest, but because they don't know that the spaces exist.
They don't know.
So I'm so glad we're having these interviews, because
Right.
we are now telling them that they do exist, you know, and we're telling them how to get involved. So
Right.
thank you to you for creating this platform.
Yes. So when it comes to how to get involved,
Right.
let's say there's a young woman listening to this interview right now, and you know, they may be very interested, like, oh, this is beautiful. Also, because we're streaming live on social media,
right.
maybe they're watching us and they feel like, this beautiful woman, and she does what she does. This would be me one day. What are the steps that you would advise that they take or start taking?
So again, I mean, everybody's path is different, you know. So there's no one size fits all. But in the diplomatic fraternity, you need to at least have a master's degree minimum.
Right.
I've already mentioned all the scholarships that you can apply
Right.
for. What do you study? International relations, politics,
Right.
economics,
Right.
agribusiness, climate change, AI. You know. All these water sanitation, you know.
Yeah.
Look at what are the issues that we have in Africa. Those are the things that we look for.
Okay.
Right? Because remember, you know, AU, UN, EU, we're looking for solutions. So look at
Right.
what are the problems, and then and then study that.
Okay.
But get a minimum master's degree. Once you've done
Yeah.
that, go to the websites. As I said, all these entities I've just listed, they have internships, fellowships, annually, you
Yeah.
know, start applying, and also
Yeah.
get mentors, you know, reach out to, if there's somebody that you see who's doing a similar job, reach out to them and say, look, I would love for you to mentor me. As I said earlier, I would not be here if it wasn't for my mentors.
Right.
You know, pinpoint somebody that you feel can give you advice, can guide you, and honestly, if you are coming from a place of purpose, and I want to say, don't lead with money, you know, then you're on the wrong track. If you lead with
Right.
purpose, and you lead with virtuism, you will attract people that can also help you and they can see that too. So start there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Also, how do you suppose that the continent can bring young people together, to the center of development? Because we can't stress on that enough, because you did say, and of course from research, that in 2030, young people in Africa are projected to make up to 42% of global youth.
Yep.
More than 60% of African populations is under the age of 25.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how do we conscientize?
Right.
How do we
Bring them to the fold.
bring them to the fold?
Really great question. I mean, look, so Africa's youth holds the key to development, as you said, right? And I think, firstly, we really need to relook at Africa's education programs. I feel like we need to make entrepreneurship more center stage. I think we focus more on, going to school and getting a job versus you creating apps. And that's what I love about what's happening in Accra, what's happening in Johannesburg, what's happening in Nairobi. You're seeing so many startups that are coming up that young people are actually, they're no longer wanting to do 9 to 5. They're coming out of school and they're starting their own enterprises. And so young people already are a collective. Social media, for example, you're seeing how they're using that to, to have a voice, to make movements.
Yes.
So they're doing it alone already. So I think as leaders, as policymakers, as people in power, we need to tap into that. You know what I mean? Like, they actually are the future. And if we bring them into the fold and give them a seat at the table, and not just a seat, but give them real power.
Yeah.
For example, the AU, what we have is we have a special envoy, a youth special envoy, whereby the chairperson of the AU has appointed a youth ambassador. She's under 35, and her role is to essentially go all over the world and speak on youth affairs pertaining to Africa.
Nice.
Because he was like, look, young people, saying nothing without us, nothing about us without us.
Right.
And so with him, he said, look, it's one thing to talk the talk, right? Let's actually give them real power.
Right.
So we have one of the youngest ambassadors,
right,
who's leading the special youth envoy at AU, who sits at UN, who goes to all these big seminars in the States with Joe Biden and so forth, and is speaking on, on behalf of young people in Africa. So we've realized that bringing young people into the fold is something that is not something that is needed, but that is going to happen whether we like it or not, because young people are powerful, and they are outspoken, and they are unstoppable.
Yes.
And we need to give them the tools to so that when they get to those positions of power, that they're able to execute the best of their ability.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And, we're often speaking about young people participating in the mainstream economy, right? You have an experience working on the field of trade and cultural industry. What do you suppose Africa youth can immediately make an impact and participate meaningfully?
With regards to trade,
Yes.
specifically. So I don't know if you are aware of the AFCFTA. Basically, that is a trade act that is ensuring that Africans can trade without tariffs, regulation, and so forth. So cutting the red tape, being able to move goods and services.
Right.
So that is actually in full effect. So creatives can actually go to the website and look at ways that they can actually trade their goods and services without having to pay all these heavy duty fees and so forth. So the AU is doing that already, and it's actually influential already. So that's one of the ways that creators can use trade, or use particularly this act, which is implemented already, to facilitate their work and to make it easier for themselves to collaborate and trade with each other.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Now, tell me, because May is ending today, right?
Yes.
We have June makes half of the year gone.
Right.
So let's look at from July till end of the year. Are there any events? Are there any things going to happen that, maybe, African youth should be aware or know so they can participate or look out for?
Right.
What is going to happen before
Oh
the,
my
the
God.
year ends?
There's so much that we're doing. I mean, just this month alone, we probably have about 4 or 5 seminars, summits, conferences.
In June, you mean?
Just in this in May.
Oh, you've
alone,
had.
We've had.
Okay.
Because remember, there's 55 countries that we're working in, so there's always something happening in different countries. So
Right.
my best advice would be we actually have when you go to our website, the EU website, we have our events calendar,
Right.
which literally lists all the events that we have. Usually, I mean, it's we're so robust in what we're doing. We're in the ground a lot, so things are forever moving and changing. So just go to the website and just and you can either apply as a delegate. You'd find that sometimes there's something happening in your city you
Right.
wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
So please go to the website. The information is all there. We update it all the time, and there's so much happening that we're doing with regards to create the culture industry, young people, women, agribusiness, trade, entrepreneurship. There's something for everybody. So I just go on the website and find the information, and you'll be surprised at how much we're doing.
Yeah.
You really will be.
I will do that. I'm going to check it out as soon as we're done with the interview.
Great.
And see what I can participate in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you.
Yes, moving forward. But tell me, in your role, what is the most exciting event in the year for you on the calendar? What do you look forward to the most?
You know what? It's hard to pinpoint one, but I think for me, it's when you look at the end of the year and you look at how many synergies and how many people you've connected, how many creatives who needed funding for a fine artist who wanted to have a residence in Tanzania, and now they are in Belgium and are showing at an art gallery.
Right.
Looking at hopefully maybe Sakode and Maporisa releasing something together.
Yeah.
Afro Nation, for example, we also, part of that. So I think for me, the highlight is when you sit back and say, wow, this is actually what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
And ultimately what my purpose is, I'm a Pan-Africanist, is really seeing Africans working together.
Yeah.
We are so powerful. We are rich in culture, we are rich in music, we're rich in style,
Yeah.
we are rich in beauty,
Yes.
we're rich in resources. And it's so beautiful because now we are finally seeing ourselves in the way that the rest of the world has been seeing us. And we're finally owning who we are.
Yeah.
And we are now telling our own stories as we are right now.
Yes.
And that's what excites me.
Yeah.
When Africans finally realize and remember actually their power.
Yeah.
That's beautiful to see.
It
and
is.
we're seeing it every single year. And Ghana is one of the countries that has been leading in that. So
It is.
kudos to the president, kudos to the media and to all of you, because really honestly, what you've done with the year of the return, it's incredible. And you've really also opened up our eyes as well in terms of how important the diaspora is as well, to also plug in,
Yeah.
and make the voice bigger. So it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
How often do you come to Ghana?
Oh my gosh, I've been to Ghana, I think maybe the past 4 years now. I've been coming quite often, just before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Ghana.
You do?
Yes.
Where'd you live when you come?
Where do I stay normally?
Yeah.
Cantonments or Osu.
Okay.
I like to be central, or Labone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like to eat?
Oh my gosh, I love tilapia.
Ah, she says tilapia.
Tilapia.
You do?
You do,
But you do
you
have
do.
that in South Africa, don't
we do,
you?
but it's made differently.
Oh,
you guys
right.
have the spices and
Okay.
you know what I mean? We
Okay.
have, in fact, our foods are very similar. You know what I mean? Even like yam and like the ingredients are similar, but it's just the way
Right.
that it's made.
It's made.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Right.
So, yeah.
But Southern Africa, you don't have a spicy palate, do you?
no.
You're not.
No.
You're not.
We spicy. You guys are hot. Pepe.
I know.
I was never ready for it. I was never warned.
I know. I think it's the entire Southern Africa, right? So
We're more spicy.
You're more.
Yeah, more like it's more like the spice. It's not. your mouth is not on fire.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
we like it when our mouths are on
I
fire.
know. And I'm like, guys, I'm like, are you guys not feeling? You guys know this is fine. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
but
okay.
so it's difficult for you when you have to like eat food in Ghana.
Oh no, so I always say, can you just put the the pepper on the side?
On the side.
You know, I'll just dip into it a little bit.
Right. And it's always your mouth is on fire.
Oh my god! But I've found a way to manage it now.
Okay.
You know, you find a manage it. And also just to say, I feel like Ghanaian jollof is better than Nigerian jollof.
Okay.
Sorry
Okay.
to my Nigerian friends.
Okay. Okay. What is the main difference? What would you say is
I think I find that the Ghanaian jollof is a little bit spicier, a little bit sweeter.
Okay.
But also Senegalese jollof though.
Yeah, Senegalese. But is it the Senegalese jollof that they put the cassava and stuff in there?
See, now I am not the one to answer that question. I don't want to be the expert of.
I know, because I don't know if it's the Gambia or Senegalese, but one of them, they put a lot of stuff in the jollof. It's not just the rice.
Yes, there's a bit of a mixture.
It's it's intense. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Interesting, very very interesting. And also tell me, in your role, what role does social media play in your role?
So in terms of how does it influence my
exactly.
Right. You know
exactly.
what? It actually, so initially when we joined, when I joined the 85 years ago, social media was seen as, even media as well, it was seen as, oh, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And I think because I'm media trained, I said, look, the media is actually a stakeholder too. You know what I mean? Like, you need to bring it in, it's so powerful. So maybe because I come from a media background, I've always seen traditional media, social media as a powerful tool, as a powerful tool for messaging, for reaching young people, for creating brands, creating visibility. So I think it's extremely powerful. That's why I was saying that influencers, that is a profession that is needed. You know what I mean? And so I really respect people in that industry. So it's very powerful, and I think it should be utilized and used because it's an additional stakeholder. I always say, like, the media is a stakeholder. We be talking about parliamentarians and policymakers. I'm like, no, like the media. I'm like, the media is a stakeholder. We need them there too. Yes, of course they may not support our agenda or our viewpoint, but we need them because they give us credibility, and we need them because we need to also account, right?
Yes.
And the more that you account, and the more that you are transparent, the more that people trust you.
Yes.
So I think the media is powerful, and social media is powerful, and we should embrace it.
Yeah. So do you have your personal social media account, right?
I do.
Typically, what would you put there?
So it's very curated on my work, because I do get a lot of young girls that want to get information. So it's heavily curated on, the work that I'm doing when I'm on the ground, the messaging. I really try to use it as a tool to kind of get the messaging out there to the much younger population, because I know they don't really go to our website. So it's heavily focused on reaching young people, reaching young girls, and saying, this is what we're doing. I look like you can do it too.
Right.
I post links to scholarships, to fellowships.
Okay.
Really use it as an empowerment tool, and also to find other women that are doing the same and collaborating as well.
Okay.
And it's been, it's worked. I mean, look where I am.
I know.
With Phiwe Natalia.
I know. And you do all the posting yourself?
I do. I'm not at that level yet where somebody's posting. I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes,
You're
I like to be hands-on.
You're hands-on.
I want it to be authentic. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. And also, whilst we're on the social media bit, when people are sending you stuff in your DMs, what are they usually sending?
You know what? Because I've curated my my page purely work, I get a lot of young girls saying, "Oh, what should I study? I would love to do this. What can I do?" Or it's usually videographers saying, "Oh, I'd love to shoot this when you go on this." Or it's either young women saying, "I'd like to collaborate." Or so it's actually been, I'll say 90% of the time, it's people that actually are looking for ways to either get information or collaborate. It's been very
Right.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, this is my final question.
Yes.
I want to believe this is like maybe the biggest question.
Okay.
We have often been told, and when I say we, I mean women. I've heard it so many times, and I know other women who have heard it too, that there's no way you can be successful as a woman in your career and still raise a family or have a successful life or a successful family life, if you may. I mean, there's no way you can get married and take care of your husband and raise your children and have a successful career. You have to choose one. They don't see eye to eye at any point.
Right. So
Something
you
you've
can't have
heard.
it all. Yeah, all the time. You can't have it all. I believe you can have it all. Michelle Obama has it all. She was first lady. She's got 2 beautiful daughters, a loving husband.
Right.
She's doing it all.
Yeah.
You know, you've got so many other. There's so many other pictures. Pictures Matipa's wife is doing it all.
Right.
I mean, there's so many women that I admire who are doing it all. I
Yeah.
don't think we have to choose. And also, I think if women want to just focus on work and that's what they want to do, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like you can do it all. I want to do it all.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it all.
You're doing it all.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you have any children?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Coming soon.
Coming
I do know your
soon.
husband though. You told me a few
Yes.
right before the
Right,
interview.
but I mean, he's you know, Natalia, I'm gonna kill you.
You know, I do know him, and I think you guys, you're a beautiful match, and
You think so?
congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, we haven't had a wedding yet. But,
No, I know that, but
hopefully, you know, he'll know he's my husband.
yes, hopefully he'll know
soon.
soon. He doesn't know it yet,
Doesn't know it yet.
but he will know soon. Thank you so much, Phiwe.
Thank
You
you for
are so
having
much
me.
fun. I wish I would be having you every month to talk about something.
We need you coming to South Africa, and we're gonna be interviewing you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
You sit in
please.
the hot seat.
Yes,
I'm gonna make
please.
sure of it.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you
You're
for
fun,
having me.
and good job. You
Thank
know,
you.
this is quite the impact. This is what we want. This is what we want to see. This is what young girls should see when they wake up in the morning and strive to be more. You know, and
Thank
so
you. Thank you for that.
I'm really happy that you are on this path, because every time when somebody comes up to you and they say, oh, I want to be like you, usually I would say, but I want you to be more.
Be more.
Be more.
Be more than me.
Be more than me.
Right, I'm running, so I'm actually walking, so you can run.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
you have to
absolutely.
be more.
Absolutely.
I don't want to see in 2045 that there's a young girl who's doing exactly what
you're
I'm doing. It has
right.
to be way more.
Way more.
Way more.
And I think what, also back to you as well. I think you're also a trailblazer, and you're also holding the fort. And I know it's not easy for women to be in these highly patriarchal spaces.
Yeah.
But somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
And our ancestors have chosen us.
Yes.
We are. I always say we are our ancestors' wildest dreams.
Yes. Yes.
They ran so we could soar, and we are soaring. And I hope that our children will be, and they'll be astronauts.
Yes.
So thank you for the compliments, and also I want to compliment you, because I've been in the media industry, and I know how tough and
Yeah.
challenging it is. So and I feel like if we as women, we can run the world.
We can, can't we?
We really can.
We really can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
So
for having
now that
me.
we're wrapping up,
Yes.
do you want to do another song?
Yes.
Okay.
Black Sheriff all in my head.
Okay. MJ is going to do us the honors. Thank you so much. Let me
Thank
quickly
you.
do this birthday wish, and then we can call it a beautiful Friday. Are you hanging out tonight?
Actually, I'm doing Skybar.
Oh, okay.
Is something happening? Are you doing
No,
something?
I mean, I'm just wondering where you will be
Maybe,
tonight.
Maybe you should be where I should
Okay.
be.